And salamanders.
Nature, yeah.
And you just email me at 3:30.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah,
Here's how it works, man.
Sometimes it's better than the
I can't
text
remember
at 7
the
p.m. come out and rain and chase.
Oh, yeah, Jennifer sent one of those texts, and I
I was
said,
on the other
no.
hand, though.
What I do? What does?
I
Oh,
wasn't
this,
gonna walk all
oh
the way
my
down.
God, you guys!
Have you seen them?
Oh, yeah.
Missed the best opportunity. It was 6:30 at
was pretty
night.
My
cool.
wife was on the fence. Hold them.
I know.
Well,
It's
they're
the best.
basically lizards. Of
Yeah,
course
that's
you're
all,
gonna hold
yeah.
them.
All right,
I'm ready.
pre-council meeting for the city of Homewood, January 12th, 2026. Counselor Simmons,
Here.
Counselor Sims,
Here.
Counselor Lane. Here. Counselor Armstead, Howard, and Mayor Andrews.
Here.
You got a quorum.
Okay, we have 4 folks here. So, all right, thank you so much everybody for joining us and welcome back. And it is time to get back in the groove. It's been a few weeks of sitting on my couch, so it's time to get back to it. All right, I'm gonna read through, nope, we are gonna talk about these tonight. That's right, we carried these over for the last 2 meetings. Okay, so we're gonna start with the first item, which is 03-1225, public hearing set for January 26th at 6 p.m. for consideration of condemnation at 1625 26th Avenue South, brought to us from Mr. Pugh.
Hey,
Hi.
so this particular case, I don't know if you have the pictures, Brian, it has been sort of under some sort of effort to enforce the nuisance abatement since 2023. That's how long we've sort of been kind of batting the ball back and forth. The owner, Adrian Lee, I have a phone number. We spoke back in 23 about this. She had stated she had some plans for it, but those never came to fruition. And now I can't reach her. So I know she was elderly at the time. This is the.
Was she local? Was she local or?
I don't think so. I think it was in Atlanta.
She's not part of the Lee family, is she? That's what I thought.
But this house is not owned by, a bunch of heirs. It's just in her name, so.
But, let me ask you a question about that. Is it not though, Arrington Jr. has a lien against it, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and with this, the question I got is because of this lien, is he trying to obtain that property with the lien where he inherits his property? I think it's $20,000, if I'm not mistaken, that he owes, and he's charging interest is $20,300 or something to that nature. And the value of the property is what, $59,000 assessed at?
About all that, I couldn't tell
Is
you.
that- okay.
That's a whole different legal thing. The city does have authority, however, to abate unsafe structures. We actually have a responsibility to do that. So in this case, that's what we're doing. At no point will the city take ownership of this property.
Right.
We will simply abate the nuisance.
So we'll knock it down.
We'll knock it down.
And that money goes
And then-
against the property.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We will place a lien against the property for whatever money we spend to abate the nuisance.
And with the lien, now, we would take it in the lien against that, Mr. Arrington Jr. has against it. How does that work? I mean, that's not, I know that's legal again, that's probably gonna be key.
When someone buys the property, I assume that's when they would have to pay those. I'm not the attorney, your guy for that, but, I can speak to the nuisance abatement.
Mm-hmm, okay.
So it's open to the elements.
It is,
Yeah.
and it's been that way for years and years, so.
It's unsafe structure.
No one's ever really tried to do. A little while back, some folks went over there and tried to sort of batten up the windows and tarp it up and all, but I mean, it was kind of too late for that once they started anyway.
Any other questions, you guys? All right, okay, well, well, we will have that public hearing at our next meeting, which is January 26th at 6 o'clock next door.
Okay,
Thank you very much,
Sure thing.
but don't go anywhere. So
All
our
right.
next item is 041225, a public hearing set for January 26th at 6 PM for consideration to approve an amended development plan for the proposed Homewood Community Church to permit the construction of a new two-story building comprising a total of 30,797 square feet, as well as associated parking, landscaping, and other site improvements. The subject is properly currently zoned GERD, and this is also brought to us from Mr. Pugh.
yeah, so we have some folks here to speak intelligently about this, if you have any questions.
Great. You want to present to us?
Do y'all wanna come on up?
Yeah, I can. I don't know if you have the pictures for
I
it.
do, I thought this had already been presented, just give me a few minutes.
You're good.
I didn't know we were coming back to this again, so give me a couple minutes, I'll hold it.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Put these,
I
send
brought
these
it.
around?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I brought an extra
Thank
one
you.
just so you-
Perfect.
Would you mind stating your name?
Yeah, I'm Brian Hatcher with Cadre Engineering. But, no problem. This is the lot that is currently behind the edge, adjacent to Columbiana Road. In the last, planning commission, we also, there's a property to the north of this that was owned by Sonora that we subdivided. And the back half of that property, which was all parking lot, the church is under contract with and closing within the next month. It may be closed by the time this meeting comes up, but, and so what they're wanting to do is put their church building on this property behind the edge. The majority of the bulk of their parking is on the northern property across the ditch. We've talked to Kel and met with staff, and we're gonna, right now, plan on piping the ditch across our parking lot, knowing that we have to accept maintenance rights for that, and the church is okay with that. One of the big items that came up in planning commission from the neighborhood was buffers between the neighborhood and the church. Right now, there's not a whole lot of buffer between the edge parking lot and Columbiana. So that's kind of what this drawing shows, is a little bit more detailed version of the buffer between our playground and the Columbiana Road side, and some sight lines up on the top left corner. We wanted to, and we'll give this to staff so they can include in the presentation for the 26th as well, but I wanted to go ahead and I got those recordings, so I'm gonna let you see them. And then we'll answer any questions you want. Basically what you're looking at is an auditorium for the church and then classroom wing going to the north.
What is this structure right here? Is that,
That's actually parking lot.
okay,
That's the classroom wing.
yeah.
That's the auditorium, and that's the back building of the
Okay.
edge.
Okay,
So
and this is showing the neighborhood right here. Is this showing the?
that's showing a view from Columbiana if you're
Okay.
looking across at the church.
Okay, gotcha.
What's the south part,
see.
where the auditorium is looking back? Is that looking toward Omega Tire, right?
There's townhomes directly on below,
Okay,
south of the
But it's
south
going that
property line.
direction, okay, so right here, those are
Those are townhomes, yes, sir.
townhomes.
And so our main entrance is to the left on your page, which is the edge parking lot to Green Springs. And then our other entrance is to the north onto Carr Avenue. And then we'll connect the two through behind the edge. So you can kind of see it there. That's our entrance on Carr, the
Right.
bulk of the parking lot, and then the building's down here with the edge sitting
Okay.
in front of it. So the main access would be the current edge entrance and then the current Shannara parking lot entrance on Carr.
That's- I feel like I was on the planning commission, maybe JJ, when you came forward with your first property and you all had already
did
kind of
the
worked
edge.
out
That's what
this.
it was.
We did.
The
We-
parking lot.
We did,
Okay.
we did an easement straight through to the back portion
Okay, that's what
on
it
the
was. So
edge.
when you were here.
There's a 15-foot buffer between the townhomes and that property already, which will remain, right, Brent?
That's correct.
So
yeah.
you'll have a buffer on all sides of the
So
church and edge.
You will have, that's a buffer on the south side that's existing that we're maintaining. And then the green is an undisturbed landscape buffer. The blue is the building setback line.
Did they discuss they did discuss the landscaping part on that as a buffer
They did.
against Columbiana?
They did,
Was
yes,
there-
and that's kind of what this drawing is showing.
Right, we were talking about any heights in that?
It,
Where was
it
gonna
would,
be?
it would meet the city code, which I believe is 6, I know Sherry's not in here, I don't see her, but I think it's 6 feet at year 3, there's a growth height that we have to meet for the buffer requirements. I just don't have that off the top
6
of my
feet
head.
at year 3.
I think that's right, 6 to 8 at year 3, something like that.
Needs to be bigger, okay. Because that's gonna be pretty short at year 1.
I think year 1, I think if you're looking at the drawing, if you look in the upper left corner, the dark green of those shrubs is year 1. The grayed out portion of those shrubs would be, which, not that one, but on your paper version, would be the year 3 mark, is what you're looking at?
The playground,
Yes, sir.
is it gonna be open during the weekdays for activities?
The church does not currently have any weekday activities.
Currently?
They have no plans to do a daycare.
Because if I'm not mistaken, I think some of the neighbors across the street were complaining, am I right, Nick? Wasn't there some conversation about the neighbors across the street about buffering?
Yes, so the neighbors along Columbiana, who I believe the church has met with a couple times
correct.
in discussion of this development, their primary concern is definitely about additional traffic and buffering, as well as stormwater. Those are kind of some of the main conversations that came up. In regards to additional traffic, obviously there's not access from
Right.
Columbiana, which is a big deal. There was just concern about not having any type of construction access
That's
either
correct.
off Columbiana.
And we agreed to no construction access to Columbiana. We've had a traffic report done by Skipper
Right.
to determine impacts to the adjacent roads. There were no significant impacts. One of their concerns was currently headlights in the edge parking lot,
Exactly.
which our building blocks all of that. And then our proposed landscape buffers would majorly cover the sight lines of the new building as well, because our building will sit a little higher than the road. As you look up, our bushes, our shrubs will cover majority of the building as well.
Was that playground on there, on the land, at the planning commission? Okay,
Yes, sir.
I'll just make sure.
Yeah, it abuts right up to the undisturbed buffer line, so we've still got 30 feet to our property line and then another 15 feet to the street, so it's set back pretty far from Columbiana's curb line.
The buffering was definitely part of the conversation, and do you have a rendering which shows the what the appearance would be from Columbiana, looking at the rendering, standing on Columbiana at the church once built?
We have
Do we have a graphic that shows
We have a
that?
graphic of what the side of the building looks like.
Yeah.
So these are the
There we
building
go.
elevations themselves. This would be the elevation from the Columbiana side.
Yes. So that's just helpful for people, I think, to visualize, thinking about then towards the right of that graphic, right? I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that's where there would be a playground
Yeah, the
in front
playground
of
would
that.
sit in front of the long.
Yeah, which would be gated, and
That's
then there would
correct.
be landscaping in front of that gate.
Yes, that's correct.
And that fence, so just visually, just wanted to show that for reference.
Green Springs on the other side.
Green Springs will be the west elevation, the
Okay,
middle
but
one.
if I'm looking at the bottom picture, Green Springs is behind.
Yes,
it.
behind it.
Yeah.
The edge will be fully behind it.
Is there a certain budget you have in there in the landscaping to maybe be a little bit higher to start with, and then?
No, sir. No,
Chris,
sir.
I will say, all the trees, when I bought it, the only trees I took down were the dead ones. So all the trees that were there when I bought it are still there, and they're very tall. So
Yeah.
what they're
Oh,
doing is
they'll-
they're filling
yeah,
in.
you're gonna
between-
fill in between.
That's correct. So
They're
what is,
filling in everything we-
so what's there today will remain.
I got
We're
you.
filling in amongst those.
Okay, good.
So you do have a higher line that's not shown on that drawing just because we didn't model all the existing trees.
For the existing trees.
Yeah.
And then, is there, let's see, this is the rendering we're all looking at currently. I think the other thing that's just noteworthy to discuss as part of the presentation too, if you could, I know there was a subdivision case or a combining of lots
That's
at a planning commission. Could you talk kind of about the drainage area and, the way that's gonna be there's gonna be a vehicular bridge that's gonna connect the parking from both sides, and the importance of that, the parking spaces, and the anticipated traffic flow from,
Yeah.
you know, each entry point.
Yes, sir, I can do that. So currently, as you all probably know, the edge sits here. There's a concrete ditch that runs from Green Springs all the way to Columbiana, where you've got Schnarr's property to the north and the edge to the south. So our entrance, one of our entrances being on Green Springs through the edge parking lot, our main portion of our parking is on the north of that ditch. So what we are gonna look at doing is basically piping our section of ditch to get our parking over top of it. It'll be box culverts, which will be much bigger to pipe, but, we're basically piping and covering our portion of the ditch, which will be way up there in the very top, right where the sheet cuts off at an angle. That here.
So that would help.
You wanna use it?
Yes, sir.
This is
Thank you. So, there's currently the ditch that runs through here. We're proposing to culvert this section on our property to leave the ditch running, but allowing us to have multiple drives across it. So that will let us have one contiguous parking area that sits somewhat like this. And so this current parking lot to the north is pavement today, or broken up pavement, or gravel, or some combination of those three. That parking lot will drain exactly the way it does today. There's another concrete ditch that runs to the north of this side. It will drain to there or into the main culvert. Where we're adding impervious area is gonna be the building in this area through here, which is grass today with the undisturbed buffer that's in the green. So we're proposing an underground detention system on this side that will then tie into our pipes going in where we're culverting the ditch across. So that way we meet pre-post, we can keep the drainage patterns the way they are and impact the people around us the least. The floodway in this area does come close to our property, however, it ends somewhere over in here across the street. So we don't have floodway to contend with or floodplain, however, we do still have to meet city ordinances for pre-post and water quality and those things. So that's a rough rundown of stormwater, but big picture, it's complicated, but it's pretty similar to everything else we'd have to do in the city, so.
Any other questions? So we will have this public hearing next, in 2 weeks, on the 26th at 6 o'clock, right next door. Yeah, it'll be great, thank you. All right, next item, 05-12-25, public hearing set for January 26, 2026 at 6, for consideration to approve an amended development plan for Brookdale University Park to permit the proposed construction of a pickleball court on the south rear side of Brookdale Senior Living Facility on the site of an existing paved parking area. Mr. King?
Yes, are y'all here to speak about
Yeah.
the pickleball? Come on up.
Yeah. Good evening. My name is Matt Sims. I'm with Shoal, and basically the description that is in your packet is what we have been asked to do. So there is a portion of the existing parking lot down here to the south. It's not currently being utilized for anything. It is over and above the minimum city required parking counts, and they are looking to put in a pickleball court to use for recreation for the residents, as well as some therapy items as part of the skilled nursing. There are no proposed structures associated with this, only fencing around the court itself, and no proposed lighting improvements out here. So all this is gonna take place during the day, and all of the residents will be in bed before dark.
And there's no other residential behind, like adjacent immediately, like that's the mountain back there, right?
Correct,
Behind
yes.
there, yeah.
Right on the south side of that area is a very, very tall retaining wall, and then it just continues to go right past that.
Okay. Any questions?
No questions, that's exciting.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Well, that will also be next door, on the 26th at 6 o'clock for Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. New business, 010126. You get the first item of the year, Blake. Request to declare various vehicles and equipment surplus and various city hall furniture. Mr. Graves.
Furniture was added on, we're gonna take care of that, but also.
Is that in here?
Yes,
That's his
there,
furniture? Okay.
there will be a couple of things that remain,
Yeah.
but we're gonna clean all this up
Okay.
and make it look nicer.
It's just
there's
end
some-
of an era.
There's some various.
11 desks that nobody ever used.
There's some various other items in finance and some other areas.
Okay, awesome.
And we've got, a fleet of vehicles that we're surplusing also due to the vehicles we just purchased in. It's time to roll these other ones out. And there is a fuel tank on here from the fire station 3 that we'll be surplusing. Also.
And so you all should have received that information in your packet. Go ahead, post a question.
But how many police vehicles are gonna be on the surplus?
There's gonna be 7 police, actually 8, but one of them's gonna be due to a loss, got totaled out.
Totaled out, yeah.
So it's gonna be, still has to be declared surplus.
Right.
And insurance will collect it, but a total of 7.
So is that the Ford F-150 that's the total loss?
Yes.
And then are all the Tahoes the police, or what?
Yes, sir. Every
Okay.
Tahoe is police, and you've got 1 inspection and 2 street vehicles.
How many, when we surplus a police vehicle, what is their usually return? Can you give a kind of an idea of percentage
What we get
on return on the whether, on an auction? Is it 20 cents on a dollar? Is it 50 cents on a dollar, 70% on a dollar?
I'll tell you, just in the last few Tahoes we have surplus.
Mhm.
Now, we strip all the equipment out of it, anything patrol,
Correct,
lights.
correct.
We leave the cages, because they can't be used.
Right.
And they will not bring anything but scrap, so we get actually more money when we surplus it. We surplused one that had a issue with the transmission, and it brought right at $5,500 with 160,000 miles. So we get pretty good return. I don't have the exact dollar amount and what the average is, but.
Did you say 6,500?
5,500.
5,500.
Yes, sir. We get pretty good on the patrol cars because they're really highly sought after.
Well, the only reason I'm bringing this up is basically because, and then I don't think it affects you as much as it does with the police, with police chief and them. I'd be interested to know for $5,500, just throwing that as just throwing a number out, okay? If it behoove us to hold 2 or 3 of these vehicles not being used to park it, potentially have, so we have, representation, say in Edgewood, police car sitting there, even though we don't have a police officer there, it might, even on Valley Avenue, up toward Valley,
Yeah.
park a car there, which potentially, even though there's not a police officer there, but people see
Deterrence.
that and it deters crime. I'm just saying as a thought process, maybe a couple cars, it'd be worth that kind of money instead of having a police officer up there doing it all the time.
Yes, sir. And I mean, that would be a conversation with Chief Ross, but, we'd be happy to support him in whatever that need may be.
What y'all's thoughts on something like that? Bad idea, good idea?
Well, I think
I mean-
Sam has been doing a deep dive on our fleet and has been looking at bringing in a service that would do, an inventory and sort of an audit of what we have going on. So I think we would wanna do that before what are your thoughts, Sam?
I think so. I think maybe if we do a fleet management study, just to look comprehensively, do we have too many cars? Do we have enough cars? What are the life cycles of cars, et cetera? Maybe what are our inventory? That's something we, have some discussion about bringing, consulting in to help Blake and the rest of us on this.
I don't necessarily think that's a bad idea, Councilman, but I do think, with an opportunity to at least get something back from the vehicles that maybe not in the best shape, like you mentioned before, with the transmission issue. And the high mileage. I mean, we know with high mileage, I it's tough to resell any type of vehicle with high
It
mileage,
is.
especially
And if
these
you
type.
understand the way the police cars work, they work
410s, and they're 24/7. It's not like 10 hours of just parking here and there. It's go, stop, idling. I know, we've got three vehicles on order that should be coming in at the end of this month. They're gonna be with the K-9s, and a few of them have over 14,000 hours, engine hours. And if you do the math on that, it's equivalent to almost 360,000 miles. So what they put these patrol cars through is pretty good bit. And when you see them at 140, you got one that's 189, that was a SRO. So we can put those in the SRO program where they're just escorting to and from football games or wherever they're going with them. So if they're on this list, it's due to high mileage, repairs exceed the value of the vehicle. It's time for them to be rolled out of the fleet. And so,
I think Chelsea does something similar to what Chris is mentioning, right on the 280 corridor there, where they've got that, that old police car that's been sitting there for like 20 plus years, right?
With a mannequin in it.
Yeah, we know we shouldn't speed through there, but.
everybody does a double check.
Anyway.
And I guarantee you, if you're downtown Homewood, say 9:30, 10 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, 18th Street, they don't know what that three-way stop sign is. I mean, they come barreling through there. I mean, there's no stopping. But I guarantee you, if there's a car parked over there, just the presence of potential will make people wonder. And maybe, I don't know, just, I mentioned that to down in Birmingham, down about the Avondale area, and it's sort of the same situation. But if you can help, it's $5,500 or $6,000, instead of having a police officer roaming, being present, they think they're there. So, just a thought.
And I'm with you. If Chief Ross asks for the car to not be surplus to use for that, I mean, then yeah.
So something our city manager wants to take up with Chief Ross?
Mhm.
Okay, add that to your list. For tonight's purposes, we are going to read this ordinance tonight, and then, with your approval, if everyone's okay with that, go ahead and have a vote on unanimous consent, and then go ahead and take a vote on that. But moving forward, we can, authorize Mr. Smith to have those conversations with Chief Ross and see what he comes up with on that for his thoughts. All right, next item, 020126, request to authorize, the mayor to sign stormwater management program plan. This is brought to us from Mr. Pugh and Scott Hopper from the county. I know
Yes.
he's been diligent about following up with us on this.
Yes. So what this is, the city operates what's called an MS4, Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System, MS4. That is our storm sewer system where all of our runoff goes into it and eventually ends up in the Cahaba River. So the Federal Clean Water Act requires ADEM to issue us a permit called an MS4 permit. As a condition for having that permit, we have to provide them an annual report. It's sort of like our playbook. It documents how we're going to enforce construction runoff, stormwater cleanliness in that way, how we'll deal with spill responses and spill prevention, how we're going to educate the public. There's a whole bunch of tabs in there of things that we do. And this report that you're considering is our playbook. It doesn't change much annually from year to year, and you've signed it numerous times since I've been here, so.
And it has to be signed by the 23rd, right?
Yes, the
Yeah, so
deadline
we
is
should-
later on this
exactly.
month,
So we need
so.
to take action on this tonight, if that's okay with everybody.
Okay,
Any questions on that?
cool.
Thank you so much, Wyatt. All right, and our last item on the pre-council agenda, 030126, request for consideration of a resolution establishing procedures for city manager candidate interviews, brought to us from our city attorney, Mr. Jackson. While this is a public meeting, and everyone, of course, is invited and free to be here, as courtesy, Mr. Smith has offered to leave our presence for now, because he will be submitting his application for this position, so we will meet you in the chambers at 6 o'clock, and we thank you so much. All right, do we want to start with Kim Kinder, would you like, everybody's read the resolution, so does anybody have any questions first? And if not, I think Kim and Sam both had a few words they wanted to share. Any questions first before we? Okay.
Okay, well, I'll share just a little bit. I'm Kim Kinder, so I'm new to Homewood. I've been here 6 weeks, and I'm the HR director. So I think I've met everyone at the table, but obviously not everybody in the room. Well, except for this side. And so, just to kind of give an overview of the recruiting process for the city manager, for the merit systems in the city of Homewood, that's about 300 of our employees. The personnel board conducts that process. So we reached out to them to begin our recruitment process, and they actually posted the job on December 19th. That was when the job was first posted. And we're accepting resumes through January 16th through this Friday. And so the job announcement that we have, I brought an example of another website that we've posted it on that I can share this with you. Just to give you an idea, if y'all wanna pass some of these around. It's from the ICMA website. And so the announcement includes a description of the city, the major job duties of the position, the minimum requirements, and the salary range. So the minimum requirements that we have for the city manager consideration is a bachelor's degree with a major in public administration or business administration, engineering, planning, finance, or a related field. We have a master's degree that's preferred. We're also asking for at least 5 years of local government experience in a professional role such as city manager, department director, or another senior role. We're also asking for experience in strategic planning, budget management, and policy development. And just a couple more, excellent leadership, communication, and interpersonal skills, experience of the duties of a city manager as set forth in the Alabama Code, and then also having to relocate to the city of Homewood as a condition in the Alabama Code. So as I said, in addition to the Personnel Board's website, we have it on ICMA. We also have the job posted on the Alabama League of Municipalities website and the Alabama City Council Management website. So I looked just a few minutes ago, maybe about 4:30, and as of today, we have a total of 40 resumes and applications that we've received. So those are being screened against those minimum requirements. And then we thought we would give the council a copy of each resume that we have if you'd like one. And so I think that's just kind of a high-level overview of what we're doing and where we are today. Any questions?
Let me ask you one question. I think previously, being ICMA requirement, it's, we don't have that on there. Did we discuss?
ICMA, MC, I don't think we put that on there. That would be.
I thought at one time we were talking about that was gonna be part of the.
I think that that's something that would be desirable, I mean, if it's required, but maybe, as we interview the candidates, we can ask them, are you, if they don't show on their resumes, or if not, how soon can you obtain that designation from ICMA?
Right, so if you wanted to, these are the minimum qualifications. If you wanted to set up some preferred qualifications, so you've got these 40 resumes, if you want to say, well, we want you to have this certification, or we do want you to have the master's degree, or some other preferred qualification, we can certainly screen against that.
Is it necessary to put a boundary on the salary?
We posted a range just to give candidates an idea, so depending on their qualifications, experience, education, they can be above or below that range.
Because there might be somebody out there that's really, really outstanding that might be above that qualification, and so I would assume we could overlook that, is that correct?
Correct, you're not, that's just, right.
Okay, good.
All right, and so we will also send this out tonight and vote on this tonight at the.
I think there may be a question.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Or a
take real
comment.
minimum comments from this, but go ahead, Carolyn, go ahead. No, go ahead, you can, go ahead.
Oh, Carolyn Herr, 121 Razor Drive. Just remembering as we changed the form of government, I remember the presentations being that, excuse me, that we would hire a highly qualified, ICMA certified city manager. And I'm wondering why that is not a requirement on the application.
Can I respond to that?
You sure?
I think that having some minimum qualifications gives you flexibility later. And we are going to ultimately be under some constraints to hire someone as it relates to the timeline as based on the code for the implementation of the council manager form of government. We're able to name an interim for the initial, I think it's 4 months per the code, but we will have to hire someone, in the relative short term. And then also, given that the person must physically live within the city of Homewood per the code too, there's already those two constraints which we have in hiring. So just by having minimum qualifications versus the ideal listed in your job posting, you keep some flexibility depending on which candidates come in. But I agree with you, what you mentioned is the ideal candidate, right? Someone with professional experience in city management, ICMA certified, and so on. So I mean, the goal is always the ideal candidate, and that's why you get the applications or resumes in, and then they're reviewed, and then there's a follow-up interview phase. But that would be my response, is that these are the minimum qualifications, not the ideal candidate necessarily listed in the posting.
Okay, I remember going to the presentation you did at the library.
Mm-hmm.
And, I remember in that presentation, you telling us that there would be a highly qualified candidate that was hired for city manager if we changed our form of government. I think Homewood deserves a highly qualified city manager.
Absolutely.
Don't think anyone's arguing with you on that one.
May I ask him, have you had any candidates apply that are ICMA certified?
I cannot recall off the top of my head, but we can certainly, like I said, that can be preferred, that can be for the ideal candidate, so that can help us make a hiring decision.
I believe there were a few that have that designation, yes, ma'am. Good.
Okay, well, obviously, the citizens don't want someone from California or, somewhere that has no idea what small town USA is like, because we are different. We are, we're just different than a lot of cities, and we like how we are. And may I ask you one question about when it was posted to the ICMA, website?
It was the week
From what
before.
my research, it showed December 23rd.
Okay, and it's probably on that posting, the ICMA that I handed out, it does have the posted date.
And it's been out in their newsletter as well, correct? I don't know if you
December
mentioned that.
29th.
Okay.
It seems to me it's a very short time between December 23rd and January 15th, when that 4 months is not up until the end of.
Oh, well, we have to work our way into
I
that.
understand that, but you're
Okay.
gonna be able to weed out a lot of these, resumes, because they won't come even close to, qualifying for the job in Homewood. So I'm wondering why we can't extend the deadline for the applications a couple of weeks to perhaps, because of the holidays, a lot of people weren't paying attention, that we might get some more applications. Would that be a possibility?
I would ask our HR director that, who's the one that's facilitating the process. So, Kim, your thoughts on that?
And I guess we also have to keep in mind the legal expiration date of the interim city
Right.
manager.
But that's what I'm saying, that's not until like March or something.
March 4th.
March
So we
4th.
have to, we'll go through multiple phases of interviewing.
So if we extended the deadline to the end of February.
Oh, no, we can't do that. We have
which-
to appoint.
not February, January, sorry. Then we would still have all of February to do the interviews.
Well, and then we'll have to make an offer to a candidate that's gonna have to accept it, and then perhaps turn in a month notice. So there'll be some other time built into that, and that may run up against the deadline of the interim city manager.
Okay, and just one more question. This job has been available since the end of October. Why did we just post it December 23rd?
Carolyn, I don't know the answer to that question, I'm sorry. I mean, there was a lot going on at the city. Probably you can, and Kale's done an amazing job, so I'm.
Well, what it has done, it has pushed us really hard upon a deadline.
Well, I will quote Kim's quote to me, which is the longer a job is open, the worse the candidates get. That's the
Well,
one,
we'd
the ones
have
that come
to
in.
change our recruiting.
Yeah.
We'd have to come up with new ways to recruit and get to attract candidates. We do have, though, the experience or knowledge of the duties of the city manager as set forth in Alabama Code, so that should help a little bit with one of your concerns.
Okay, I'm gonna move on, and so we will move this out to council tonight to vote on that, and without objection, we will adjourn. Okay, thanks.
Let me ask, I got one thing,
Okay,
so we can get out of here.
not adjourned?
Huh?
Not adjourned, not
Not
adjourned.
adjourned yet? Just wants, I wanted Kel to be here because he's done a great job on some things as far as.
Wanna get him?
Yeah,
Get him
I'd
right
like
back in
him,
here?
yeah, he could come in.
So we're no longer
Question.
talking about this item, correct?
That's
Oh,
what
we're
I was
still
gonna
on this
ask.
side. Oh, I'm done.
I was
with
gonna,
this.
I was gonna ask which item this pertains to. That's all I was gonna
No,
ask.
this is just something on, organizational thing that he
Okay.
put out.
Okay.
It's hard to put it out there in city council, but I thought maybe we'd all know.
If-
what we was doing.
If
So
that's
we
the
can
case,
adjourn.
then
We can
should we
adjourn.
adjourn because it's not related
'Cause
to
it's
an
not
agenda
related.
item?
That's fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
adjourn, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, now let's.